Let's start looking at the openers for college football week 4. I have a few bets that I went in on early. The two that I really like are Cincinnati -7 over North Carolina State. Now it's 8. That's on Thursday. And then Mississippi State -18 over Louisiana Tech. Now it's at 19. You know, Mississippi State is an SEC team that was supposed to be very good this year, and they've been a bit disappointing in their results. And so now they're going to be playing Louisiana Tech, and I think they're going to try to, come out and at least make a statement and get, at least a semi-dominant win. And 20 should not be that hard to cover. And Cincinnati, I think NC State is just not a good team. They lost by 7 to, I think, Wake Forest already. And a touchdown against Cincinnati on the road, I don't think is that big of a deal. What do you think about those two lines?
I agree with the latter. The first one, I think, could be a trap, Peter.
Really?
And I certainly respect your opinions, and you're a great picker in your own right.
Not necessarily.
But I think the public is starting to move this line up to 8 and 8.5 and 9, and that starts to get into that area where this game could end up being one of those backdoor situations with State, scoring a meaningless touchdown late in the game. So I'm a little cautious on that play, taking the favorite.
Right. Well, if it does move and I get a backdoor cover, maybe I'll get a middle. But so how bad do you, my sense is that Cincinnati is pretty good to very good, and NC State is pretty bad. What's your read on those two teams in general?
Generally, I agree with you, but at the same time, why is the line only 8 then?
Right.
That's the one thing that's sticking out at me with this particular game. Why isn't it 11 or 12?
Right.
And it just kind of has that. It just smells funny.
Right.
That should be a no-brainer. It should be a complete blowout type of game.
Right.
But the line doesn't reflect that to me, and that's why I'm a little hesitant to back you on that.
All right, then let's take a look at some of the other lines that I'm kind of interested in, caught my eye. I did bet most of them a little bit, or I'm interested in betting them pretty soon. First one, I think Utah State -6 over Colorado State. Now it's 7. I just see Colorado State as a pretty weak team. Touchdown's not that big of a deal. Utah State came close to Auburn. What do you think?
Colorado State, I think, is another. This is a line like the one we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Initially I look at that and I think Utah State ought to win that game by 20, 24 points.
Right.
And then I wonder, why is the line only 7? And Colorado State is playing on the road, which makes me wonder even more why the line is only 7.
Right.
So again, I'm cautiously optimistic that Utah State will cover that game, but not real confident about it at this point.
All right, yeah, and I will say that's an interesting thing you say there, because anytime you do see a line that's off, in your opinion, you should have an answer for why it's off. And if you don't have an answer for it, that might make you might be an indication that you aren't seeing something or that you should think twice. But on the other hand, if any line that's off you assume that you're wrong on, then you're never going to find anything to bet on at all, right?
That's quite true. That's exactly right.
All right, well, I took Utah State -6, and I think I'm probably going to wind up sticking with it the whole way through. Then what do you think about Illinois -13 over Western Michigan? Now, I bet that at 13. Now it's up to 14. I'd still take it at 14. Illinois, just all-around better team. I think they can win by 2 touchdowns relatively easily, right?
I agree with you on that one, Peter. I think that's a line that there's equal balance on the betting flow so far. Granted, it is early in the week, but the public is on both sides, so I don't have any worries there.
Right.
And I do think Illinois is a team that is going to continually get better and better as the season progresses.
Right. Then I also kind of like Tulane plus 10.5. I took a 10.5. Now it's at 10. They're playing Duke. I was big on Duke last week against Boston College, but I'm not sure they're the kind of team that should be a double-digit favorite against anyone. Why can't Tulane stay within double digits? You think that's a good bet?
I think Duke proved something last week. I too was on Duke. That was one of my top plays on Saturday, and I'll tell you the truth. I was shocked that they won. I thought they would cover, but winning the game at Boston College on the road is so rare for Duke. And I think that positive momentum is going to carry over to this game.
And then what about Pitt Notre Dame? Now a lot of people are going to be debating this line, I'm sure, all the way down to kickoff. At first glance, you think, should Notre Dame really be a touchdown favorite or close to a touchdown favorite over a top program like Pitt? I don't know. I think Pitt had some value here, but maybe there's something I'm not seeing. What do you think?
It's tough to call because Brian Kelly has irritated me all year. Notre Dame just seems to be a team that's going to be very inconsistent over the course of the season, and I don't think he really has his players' attention, for lack of a better word. I don't think Brian Kelly has command of the whole team. they were backed into a corner last week and had to win. They did. Now they have to go on the road to a hostile environment. However, there is a system that I picked up earlier yesterday that supports Notre Dame, and I'll give it to you. You're going to play on favorites of 3.5 to 10 points that are off a home win of 17 points or more that have a losing record. So obviously Notre Dame has a losing record. They're off the big win.
Right.
This system has gone 35-11 over the last 10 seasons for 76% winners. So, maybe I'm just being too hard on Notre Dame and not really objectively looking at the game yet. So we'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, well, I love fading Notre Dame in general over the past few years. When I hear a system like that, I think that's a good system, unless it applies to a team like Notre Dame, and then I'm going to disregard it. But all right, what do you think about Baylor as a near 20-point favorite over Rice? You think that Rice can stop Griffin?
This is a game initially here where the public is betting, I guess, close to 82% of the numbers I'm looking at here are supporting Baylor. And that's always an immediate red flag for me. And honestly, I like Baylor. But the fact that everybody else in the world likes Baylor too is making me step aside for a while, and we'll see how this works out later in the week. Again, it's a number that you would think Baylor would cover in the first half.
Relatively easily, right. I think I'm going to stick with my bet. I did bet at 18. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Griffin. And then just a line that's intrigued me. I haven't bet it yet, but I think I have. Virginia -3 over Southern Miss. Virginia's at home.
I think -3 home favorite here by Virginia. I think this is an opportunity for them to get a big win, and I agree with you.
All right, and then let's look at some of the other lines, which are certainly intriguing to me. I don't know what I think about them yet. The first one is West Virginia +6 at home against LSU. Now, Zach Rosenfield from AccuScore has identified West Virginia as a team that's probably going to be good to bet on in the early going. He picked them last week as one of his top picks, and they got the win and cover. LSU, though, they've been awesome, but can their defense shut down West Virginia? You think West Virginia, as a home dog of 6 points, has some value?
I don't. I like LSU. They really proved to me last week that they're a team to reckon with for the BCS championship. That defense is just a monster defense. They're extremely quick to the ball. And I think more importantly, they don't over-pursue hardly at all. A lot of SEC teams have strong defenses that have a tendency in a big game to over-pursue and get a little too hyped up. But LSU is solid across the board. And as you're well aware, West Virginia is more of a passing type of team now. Right. Years ago, they were more of a rushing team, but now they're more dominant on the passing end. Although it is a balanced attack, and I just don't see West Virginia being able to score points against LSU, or at least enough to win the game.
What do you think about Alabama -11 against Arkansas? You had a great read with them against Penn State, but Arkansas, they're no chumps this year. Alabama -11 though. What do you think?
Well, this line, I believe, opened up at 14 and has now been bet down to 11 very quickly. That could be a combination of some what I call the smart money and the public joining forces.
Right.
But it's pretty hard to fade Alabama, especially when they're playing at home. So I think the lower that line goes, the more attractive I'm going to be to Alabama, actually. It's very rare, as you know, that you get this early action moving a line down involving a dog.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is it's rare that a dog gets bet down this early in the week. It's usually the favorites that are continuing to get bet higher and higher and higher, and the public always likes to bet favorites, as we all know. So I think this is actually setting up for a pretty strong bet on Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pass for me. And then there's a big game, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M. Texas A&M at home -3. You have any opinions on that line?
I think this one's just right on the money. You have a 3-0 team against a 2-0 team. I hate to say it, Peter, but it's going to come down to who takes care of the ball and who doesn't make turnovers is going to win that game.
Sure. And then are there any other lines that caught your eye from college football week 4?
The Florida State game. I think Florida State had a rough go against Oklahoma. That was a very, very hard-hitting game on both sides. But I don't think that Florida State's going to have any trouble going into Clemson. It's a totally different type of team.
Right.
Auburn obviously went in there and was dominating for the first half and then kind of fell apart. Auburn's defense is absolutely terrible.
Right.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Florida State's defense is very good and very underrated. Florida State reminds me of a team that's 1 year away from the BCS championship. They need that seasoning and that experience, and they have tremendous talent on both sides of the ball. So I think Florida State will actually rebound with a easy win at Clemson. So I think -3 is an absolute gift.